Welcome back to the Psychological Paradigm Shift podcast. I hope you found the last episode informational and helpful. I'm Ed Rieger, your host. I am the creator of the Psychological Paradigm Shift movement. You can find the entire layout of the movement on my website, psychologicalparadigmshift.com. On the website, you will learn what the mission of the movement is, the books that I've written, the laws I am beginning to release, the podcast episodes, and you will be able to follow my political activities when we launch. Always remember, I am only providing my personal opinions based on my experiences and education on psychological topics. Tonight we'll be talking about mental illness in a very blunt, transparent manner. The topics may be disturbing to some, and it will never be my intent to hurt anyone, only to share my ideas and thoughts. Tonight we're going to cover relationships to their children and the questions you may want to ask your potential romantic partner. The dynamics of how the mentally ill interact with their children and grandchildren is very important. Especially as their children age, you're going to see very strained relationships, communication problems, lost opportunities to build on those relationships on both sides for a loving and caring relationship. As children age, the damage to their relationship is going to become very obvious. Let's get started with the questions. How often do you talk with your children? You may see extremely long timelines here, especially if the person you are dating are in their 40 to 80-year-old range. What kind of activities do you participate with them? You may see no activities. When's the last time you participated with them? They may not be able to give you a date because it's been so long ago. If you have grandchildren, when is the last time you have seen them? I never met any of my grandparents on my mother or father's side. And for many mentally ill individuals, these grandparents may live in the same city or state as the grandchildren. Do you ever do anything with them by yourselves? Or is everything coordinated through a family event like Christmas? You will definitely see very clearly that they are not either interested in spending alone time with the grandchildren, or the children know better as to not to leave them alone with their children. Do you babysit the grandchildren? Most likely never. How often? Do you have a good relationship with your child's spouse and in-laws? The families that I know, the extended family dynamic is very strained and disconnected. Most in-laws I've been involved with have been very difficult to associate with. Have you ever had a separate activity with your in-laws that did not include your children or grandchildren? I have never had a one-on-one activity with any in-laws. I have never seen or heard of anyone I know having a one-on-one activity with any in-laws. Why not? This question may give you quite a bit of information about how they view past in-laws and how they may bring those communications and thoughts to your parents and your grandparents. Do you allow any of your children around convicted felons? Because many families have convicted felons as family members, this is a very appropriate and necessary question. You may want to also ask, how many times have you allowed your children around convicted felons, especially if they were sex offenders? Do your exes allow your children around any convicted felons, especially sex offenders? Do you ever go on vacations with your children or grandchildren? I have never been on a vacation with my father or grandparents ever. I went on one vacation with my mother. Where is the last place you went to? If they haven't ever been on one, they won't be able to answer this question at all. How long ago was that? Do you have any plans in your state to leave funds for your grandchildren's education or first home purchase? Depending on the family's economic status, this will definitely be nothing. I didn't receive a penny from my grandparents' or parents' estate. I have helped many families, even ones with financial resources, who were not or are not planning on leaving any funds to grandchildren for any reason. As the next generation of the children of the mentally ill are maturing, there may be some interesting correlations with some of these facts. America and the world are seeing a dramatic shift in the next generation's unwillingness to marry younger. According to the Census Bureau, for men, the average marriage age now is 30.2, and for women, it's 28.6. Is this because of what they've experienced growing up? Seeing the high divorce rate and being afraid to become a high statistic? Women are waiting longer to have their first child also. It's moved to just over 27 years old. You can combine that with more women in college than men, and maybe some of that is combined in these factors. The birth rate in the U.S. and the world, according to the CDC, is 1.6 children per female in the United States. The world rate is 2.2 children. In Japan, it has fallen down to 1.2, and they feel they are in a national crisis. Younger generations are definitely changing the game for themselves. I think some of the experiences and family dynamics may be driving some of these interesting sexual beliefs, activities, and attitudes. According to a Gallup poll in 2024, 59% of LGBTQ gens folks labeled themselves as bisexual, and 50% of millennials claimed it. In June 2022, the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. I think in some ways they feared the lowering of the birth rates as far as their decision, and the older ages of women, and the medically induced morning after abortion medication usage for such a monumental altering of a constitutional right. But I think what they're not really getting is how many children grew up in mentally ill households. And they're struggling with the enormous decision of creating long-term relationships that will end in divorce, broken families, unwanted pregnancies, poverty, unwanted births, and continued family chaos. All of these statistics may be telling everyone something. Maybe the younger generations are trying to take some kind of control over the chaos they grew up in. They are saying they do not want to repeat the mistakes of the past, even if political leaders, religious leaders, judicial leaders, and societal leaders are telling them something else. Maybe they are trying to evolve, even though the Supreme Court and others are trying to keep them in the 20th century. Okay, let's stop there for tonight. I want to thank you for sharing time with me. I hope the information was helpful and helpful to you. And as we progress through our psychological paradigm shift, remember you can go to the website psychologicalparadigmshift.com, and I'll post updates when I have them, and you can sign up to receive future information. I look forward to next week's episode, and I hope you take care of yourselves.